How's it going? Silas here. Over the past, I'd say 2 months, I've been getting quite a few messages from mainly rappers asking me about getting a promoter, getting a publicist, getting someone in PR, getting a manager, and asking, is it necessary or whether I can do the job. And I usually, what I've been telling them is that it's not really that necessary to have one, especially in the beginning stages. I mean, what are they promoting? What are they publicizing? You have enough content out there. It's not good enough to just have a song and think, okay, cool, if I get this song through that manager or that promoter, that it's going to be my hit and I'm going to become big off of this song. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It's going to take a heck of a lot more than just a song for you to go through. You might get lucky. I mean, who knows? We never really know nowadays, but it's quite rare. It's quite rare that you find you coming from nowhere, no sort of following, no sort of anything, and being able to get a hold of a dedicated manager who's going to help you go through all of your work and find the best music and push it in the correct avenue. Yeah, that is quite rare. So what I tell them is, you don't really need one in the beginning stages. Maybe later on, after some time it becomes difficult handling all of your own stuff. So in that case, I'd say yeah, for sure. But in the beginning stages, you have time to do everything. When it comes to promotion, I always say that I know what's best for my brand, and I figure you should as well. You know exactly what type of music you want to make, and you know exactly who you want to be your listeners. Now, if your answer to who your listeners are is everybody and anybody that I can get my music to, then you have a little bit of a problem. You need to have some sort of a target base. What are your age groups like? What are your gender groups like? What countries are you trying to target? This is all information that you can get through social media. Who's been listening to music? Where your plays have been coming from. There's quite a lot of information out there that will tell you exactly where your plays are coming from, where your downloads are coming from, and that should form basis for you trying to sort out your target market. Okay, cool. Once you've established where your target market is and who's listening to your music, then you can start thinking about where you're going to promote it, who you want your listeners to be. In the beginning stages, it's going to be quite difficult to find exactly who it is that listens to your music, but over time it should become a little bit easier for you to do that. I actually spoke to someone approached me and asked me whether I needed some sort of management. So I said, okay, cool, let's meet. And I met up with this person and we spoke through some of the things that they could offer me. And in the beginning stages they said, cool, we're gonna go through these avenues and speak to these people at such and such a club. And it all sounded really good in the beginning, but when I started asking, how many of these contacts do you have already? And you want your manager to already have these contacts in place. There's no use you signing a contract with someone and now you're good to go, but this person has the same amount of contacts as you do. It's your job to make the music, but I feel like even after making the music, there is still time to go out, send a couple of emails, make a couple of phone calls, do a little bit of networking with people, try and build up your own base. Shouldn't take you more than an hour a day, I'd say. An hour a day should be enough. Send a couple of emails out, go on Facebook, do a couple of searches, find some people, and just start talking. Just generate conversation. You'll be able to grow your own list. Cut out the middleman. You won't need a manager in the beginning stages. I'd say when you find that you're being booked for shows and you need to be up and about 3, 4, 5 times a week, going back and forth between different places, then it becomes difficult for you to call people up. But in the beginning stages, there's no need for you to be calling someone up. Say, man, what's the latest? Have you managed to contact that club owner? And you managed to get that gig or that placement? When you can just do it yourself, the benefits of doing that, you get to actually get your hands dirty. You get to build up the contact yourself, and you'll know exactly what it is that you need to do for your brand. You can specialize and say, okay, cool, I need to go and talk to A, B, and C. as opposed to having a manager who might send you in a different direction, and that can get quite frustrating. You, as a hip hop artist, you don't want to be making pop music for a certain group just because you've signed a piece of paper and now your manager can tell you exactly what type of music is hot at the moment and what it is that you should be making. I'm all for independence. I'm not keen on getting any sort of a deal. So that's my standpoint. That's my view, and I always think that it fosters a good environment for creativity. When you have the creative freedom, I mean, it can be soul destroying to get feedback and people tell you no, you shouldn't be making that type of music, even though you enjoy it. Obviously you want it to be commercially viable, but there's no use you trying to make a career out of music and you being miserable while doing it. So I'd say having a manager in the beginning stages probably isn't the best thing. If it becomes too difficult for you, then for sure go for it. But only if you're too busy. I mean, otherwise there's no reason why you can't learn how Twitter works. There's no reason why you can't learn how Facebook or Instagram, how all of those social media platforms work. Putting together a website, that might be a little bit more difficult, but there's a lot of different services. I use WordPress. I don't have a stitch of HTML background, but I'm still able to put together what I think is a pretty decent website. If I could do it, then I think it should be pretty possible for you to do it as well. Yeah, it's just when you do things yourself and you go through the DIY process, you tend to learn a little bit more and you are in a little bit more control. So when there's bigger decisions to be made, you understand what it took to get there in the first place. So you'll know exactly what's best for your brand. Okay, so those are just a couple of things I wanted to address. In 2014, you don't really need one of these things. You don't really need a promoter. You don't really need a manager in the beginning stages. As long as you are familiar with all sorts of types of social media, it should make things pretty simple in terms of promotion, in terms of knowing where you can get bookings, where you can get gigs done. It's just going to take a little bit of creativity. It's always very, very important in 2014. Everything has just gone digital. Getting information has become really, really easy for people. Yeah, so if you can just find different ways of getting your work out there, you're good to go.